Hello students, good morning. I am Dhirendra Kumar, Modern English School, New Area, Senior Week. This is fourth part of video lecture for class 8 history. Chapter's name is Weavers, Iron Smelters and Factory Owners. Students, today we will study iron and steel industry come up in India. In this section, we will study who established iron and steel industry in India and how he found deposits of iron ore. Student, in the year of 1904, hot month of April, Charles Welt, an American geologist, and Dorabji Tata, the eldest son of Jamshedji Tata, were traveling in the forest of Chhattisgarh in search of iron ore deposits. Jamshedji Tata was willing to invest a large part of his fortune to set up an iron and steel industry. Dorabji Tata and Charles Welt traveled at many places in Chhattisgarh at very costly venture. Means it was expensive to wander in the forest. But they were not finding good iron ore deposit. One day, they were wandering in the forest. They reached a village and they found some men and women were carrying some basket loads of iron ore. When Dorabji Tata asked them, "From where you are bringing this iron ore?" They pointed towards a hill. And Dorabji Tata and Charles Welt, with very much struggle, they found way, or they made the way into the forest to reach that hill. And when they reached the hill, Charles Welt studied. Student, here it will be very necessary to discuss with you that geologist. What is geologist? Student, the person who study about earth is called geologist. When Charles Welt studied the soil at Rajhara Hills, he declared that this is the place which has very good quality of iron ore, and that was Rajhara Hills. Rajhara Hills produce very good quality of iron ore in the world. But there was a problem to set up iron and steel industry because this was the dry place, and water required to run the industry was not there. So this was big problem. But students, the person or the men and women carrying iron ore, basket loads of iron ore, belongs to the community of Agaria. This is where the iron smith, This Agaria community helped Dorabji Tata to search deposit of iron ore, which would supply iron ore to the Bhilai plant. A large area of forest were cut to set up a city, Jamshedpur, and industry on the bank of river Suvarnarekha. Now, this river will supply water to the industry. Student, and finally iron and steel industry was set up and started production in 1912, and this was very opportune time. How? Because expansions of railway was happening in India. This required iron and steel. And in 1914, First World War was started. And due to involvement of Britain in First World War, before 1914, Indian colonial government import iron and steel from Britain. But now, as Britain was involved in First World War, Britain could not supply iron ore to India. So, colonial government ordered TISCO, Tata Steel and Iron and Steel Industry, to produce iron and steel as much as they could. Means colonial government was very good buyer or customer of iron and steel. Iron and steel, TISCO started producing shells and carriage wheels for colonial government. Student, now think or consider textile industry and iron and steel industry. How textile industry, or when textile industry flourished. This was World War. When iron and steel industry flourished, this was World War. Means when Britain was unable to supply iron and steel or textile, then domestic industries was flourished. And when they came in stronger situation or position, they started pressurizing the government to improve or to develop domestic industry. Colonial government too, in the last decades of its rule, colonial government too started providing protection to the domestic industries. Student, we have seen how iron and steel industry or textile industry developed in India. We also discussed under which circumstances industry were developed. But when we consider industrialization in Japan, this was very contrast to India. In Japan, government provided protection to domestic industry. They were providing loans to the industrialist, and government itself started industry, and when industry was flourished, they sold these industries to the industrial community or to the industrial families. I mean to say that in case of India, colonial government was not supporting industrialization. But in case of Japan, government was supporting industrialization. That's all. Have a nice day. Stay at home to fight with Corona.